Good morning. I'm Ann Schell, currently the administration liaison to the board. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation. I might get this all out this morning. We are a religious community who commit ourselves to diversity. We hope to nourish human differences, those of gender, race, age, ability, sexual orientation, political views, culture, class, and religious belief. Welcome to all who treasure freedom of conscience in the search for truth. We promise to do our best to provide you a spiritual home. We extend a special welcome to our visitors today. We hope you follow our Facebook page. To participate in Zoom and receive announcements about special events and our religious exploration classes, please sign up for our weekly email. There should be a link in the comment section on our Facebook page where you can sign up. I'd like to draw your attention to recent announcements. For those in person, they are printed in your order of service. There are links in the UUC newsletter and weekly UU Connections for those watching online today. And I have a couple of announcements. Our 50-50 Share the Plate recipient for June is the Literacy Chippewa Valley. Through classes and volunteer tutoring opportunities, Literacy Chippewa Valley helps individuals and families learn English as a second language, obtain U.S. citizenship, expand their education while incarcerated, earn their GED, learn many on-the-job skills, and participate more fully in their children's education. Another announcement, on the week of June 26th to July 2nd, our congregation will be providing suppers at the Beacon House Family Homeless Shelter. There are still many opportunities for you to provide a meal or side dish. See the announcements in tomorrow's UU Connections for more details. Thank you for joining us in person and online today.
Walking on the edge, trying to keep my step. The lonely eagle takes to the sky. One side unknown, the other old familiar. Did my life become so right? It's time to let your mind wander. Open up your heart and sail away. It's time to let your mind wander. Open up your heart and free the day. Walked along the edge, steps were so uneven, still looking for that eagle in the sky. I had to take a fall, almost lose it all. Had to reach the bottom before I learned to fly. It's time to let your mind wander. Open up your heart and sail away. It's time to let your mind wander. Open up your heart and free the day. The eagle, she flies, northwestern skyline, spreads her wings and she takes to the sky. Floats on the breeze, her mind is at ease, with a new way of life. It's time to let your mind wander, open up your heart and sail away. It's time to let your mind wander, open up your heart and free the day.
Good morning, I'm Sarah Szymanski, and I am one of the co-chairs of the gardening committee this summer. We have really beautiful flower beds outside our congregation, and they will be taken care of this summer by volunteers. So we need some people to sign up to come down to the congregation for a week time slot, a couple days a week, and water the flowers, do some spot weeding. We've had like 5 volunteers already taking care of the month of June, and I think we've gotten a lot of compliments already on how pretty the flowers are. So let's keep it growing, keep it beautiful looking. We've got a couple of sign-up sheets. There'll be one in the back and one on this entrance too. There's a QR code you could scan that will take you to the sign-up online, and you could take a look at what weeks are available, or if you'd like me to contact you, you could just put your name and phone number or email on there and I'll get a hold of you. And for anyone that signs up on the sign up online, I'll send you some information a few days before or the week before your shift, so you know some more instructions about what to do. And for people that are at home, you can find this sign up on the website and the summer newsletter as well. So let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for all of our volunteers that have worked hard already this season. Thanks.
Good morning. Yay! I'm Reverend Julianne Lepp, and it's great to be with you this morning. And today, after service, there are 2 meetings. There's one for the Social Responsibility Committee that will also be in person and on Zoom in the breakout rooms. And we're also going to have this is the first time in a while that we're offering a tutorial on how to manage online donations. So if you are new and want to learn how to use our website to set that up, or if you're considering changing your donation for the new fiscal year, our bookkeeper, Jennifer Blakely-Mode, will be available in the back. We'll have our little hybrid cart, and she'll be available in Zoom as well. So thank you to Jennifer. Yay. Welcome, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. This is a beautiful day, and I'm glad to be here with you. I'm Linda Mays, and I will be your worship associate this morning. I begin with words by Nathan Ryan. Be it real or metaphor, whatever is in your backpack or your briefcase or your purse that you've brought into this sanctuary that is weighing you down, I invite you to leave it behind. Whatever you are carrying that is keeping you distracted or caught up in shame or guilt or hopelessness, leave it behind. If you need it, it will be there when we're done. But for this hour, just let it go. Come into this place with open hearts. Come into this place with a soul that has remembered how to be tender again. Come into this place with a renewed hope for this world come into this place ready to build a world we've all been worthy of and have always dreamed of. Welcome.
Good morning. Please join me in reading the words in your order of service. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flaming chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth.
Thank you, Jessica. This reading is called Blessing When the World is Ending by Jan Richardson. Look, the world is always ending somewhere. Somewhere the sun has come crashing down. Somewhere it has gone completely dark. Somewhere it has ended with a gun, the knife, the fist. Somewhere it has ended with the slammed door, the shattered hope. Somewhere it has ended with the utter quiet that follows the news from the phone, the television, the hospital room. Somewhere it has ended with a tenderness that will and does break your heart. But listen, this blessing means to be anything but morose. It has not come to cause despair. It is simply here because there is nothing a blessing is better suited for than an ending. Nothing that cries out more for a blessing than a world that is falling apart. This blessing will not fix you, will not mend you, will not give you false comfort. It will not talk to you about one door opening when another one closes. It will simply sit itself beside you among the shards and gently turn your face toward the direction from which the light will come, gathering itself about you as the world begins again.
Well, this is Pride weekend, and we had our booth at Pride, and today we're speaking about original blessing and thinking about that idea that we were born okay the first time. And that's something that this congregation visibly shows, that we are the rainbow congregation, that we are welcoming, and that's one of the things that made me very proud on Saturday to be sitting at our booth as a congregation, and people said, "Oh, what? You're a congregation? What are you doing here?" And so some people don't have that in their lives, and the fact that we can have this space to be welcoming to people regardless of identity or gender or belief is radical. And I know in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, radical sometimes sounds kind of funny, but it's true. And when people are upset and sad about all of the gun violence and the worries that rack our nation, they come to places like this, and they look for hope, and they look for blessing, whatever that means in our diverse community, right, of belief. And it's in this space that we support it with our time, talent, and generosity. And it means a great deal to me to serve this congregation with integrity and to support it. So our offering will now be given and very gratefully received. You can donate online and in person, and our greeters will take the offering here. And Jim Phillips is our local musician. He did an original for Music for Gathering called Sail Away, and he'll be doing Love Will Guide Us. Unfortunately, we're not singing along yet, but hopefully this fall we'll move into congregational singing, but we're going to enjoy Jim Phillips. Thank you.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot speak for thousands, if you cannot sing like angels, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak for thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night.
Thank you, Jim. Join me in response. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. As Julie was mentioning, part of what she mentioned that we are a diverse community, and I remember when I first walked in to the U a little more than a couple years ago, and I just felt this deep, relaxing sigh of, just a warmth of the community and a breath of fresh air. And it has really meant a lot to be part of community, that we can be connected in diversity. Diversity of all ways, and a welcoming community. So this next reading is called It Matters What We Believe by Sophia Lyon-Foss. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days and fears of unknown calamities. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth of happiness. Some beliefs are divisive, separating saved from unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide vistas for exploration. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feeling of personal worth. And some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling, ever growing with the upward thrust of life. I'm grateful for all the mix of beliefs here in this room that allow us to grow and expand and live in joy. That was extra.
Linda Mays, we love your extra. And maybe that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is a chance to be extra. So Unitarian Universalists affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And we also affirm the wholeness of every person, that we are complex beings. And we're not perfect. You know, we all struggle, and the world is not a perfect place. And I think to start out with the shadow of being bad or born into a bad body, those words are harmful, I think. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So when children are born, we wish for them blessings of a good life. When a couple commits to one another, we wish them loving life together. We had graduates a couple Sundays ago. We gave them roses with thorns to go forth and be in the world as fully realized or forming adults. Stories are powerful. They say who is the villain and who the hero is. I don't know if any of you watch movies like Marvel or Batman or Star Wars or Dune. All of those stories, Dune. There's often a villain, and there's often the good guy or the good person. And sometimes our world likes to cast people in those roles, right? Like who is good and who is bad. And I remember when I was trying to figure out who I wanted to be as a person, my first job out of college, I worked for a credit agency, and I thought I'd be helping people. Instead, they had me calling people and repoing their cars. And so it was definitely not, it did not feel like helping. And I only lasted a year, and I remember just, I didn't know what to say to people when they would tell me, you know, I can't make my car payment because I have cancer, or I'm out of a job, or, and I just remember, you know, I want to do something different. I'm sure that there is a role here that all of these businesses play. But I left and took a big pay cut and became a preschool teacher for a year. And I was young and didn't have the responsibilities of children and a mortgage or whatever. And so I became Miss Julie. Miss Julie, I have to go to the bathroom. Miss Julie, so-and-so spit on me. Miss Julie, I need a hug. And I'm like, I need a hug too, Grayson, thank you. And so we learned, you know, and I took some early child development classes. And I think that taught me so much more about life. Maybe even than my university degree, probably more than my university degree, was when people have actions that you don't like, you call out those actions. You don't say, you're a bad girl, you're a bad boy. You say, I don't like these actions. So we had a biter. We had a biter in our class, and the parents would get mad. Because it's upsetting when you come to school and your kid gets bitten by another one. And a lot of times why people bite is because they have aggression that they don't have the words for. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Our current culture has a lot of biters. It has a lot of, we don't have a lot of healthy processes for people to talk about their emotions and to get along together. But there was a particular little girl, and her name, we'll just call her M. Her name was M, she particularly liked to bite this one little girl. I don't know why. But we taught the little girl to say, M, I don't like it. And she would shake her head, I don't like it. And after a while, it changed because we helped also M to say, I don't like it when you take my toy, or I don't like it when you take my puzzle. And, it's really hard to solve aggression. But what I'm trying to say is a lot of the things that we need to know in life are basic. We need to love one another. We need to honor each other as people. And stories are powerful. And so when we're told that we're not good just by the basis of our gender or our identity or what we believe or what body we're born in, it is incredibly harmful. And I know I have spent my life trying to prove myself that I'm good enough, that I'm smart enough, that I can do these things, and I'm just unraveling all these messages that are in our society and that I was given by family, religion, and I hear stories all the time, and because of my role, about people trying to unravel that pain and to discover who they are and to know that they are okay. In the stories that religions hold sacred, humanity can be lifted up and brought down. And there's a lot of damage done when people are told they're sinners. Eve tempted Adam with an apple. Sounds like a frame job to me. Who is included and who is holy? Who is allowed to preach from the pulpit? I attended a congregation for 6 months in college, and it was beautiful, and there's lots of ritual. But they said because I had a vagina, because I was a female, I could not go behind their altar. And that, to me, I was like, wow, okay. And so that left me out of what was holy, right? Only the men could perform those roles, and that's incredibly harmful. So I did not stay. Is the holy remote and on high, or do we find it in our conversations? Do we find it at the pride booth, or in the drag show, or in the garden in front of our congregation? Is it, as Peter Mayer says, that everything is holy now? For Unitarian Universalists, rituals and doctrines and dogma do not define religion. We believe that each person can have a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. That we do not have this inherited sense of shame, guilt, and sin. So all of this started with a story about revolt. Good story, right? You may remember the familiar biblical story of Adam and Eve. The setting, the Garden of Eden. The plot, a simple act of eating some fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. After being told not to, which, no biting. It was Eve's no biting. It was Eve's fall from grace, as the story goes, and the temptress took Adam and all of humanity down the tubes with her. Frame job. The scene is familiar. Women are, sexualized, they're a temptress, and from this one act of insubordination, humanity will forever carry shame and sin. And I just think of the generations of people who have carried this. What if there had been a different story? What if Eve and Adam had, built a commune and said, hey, you're smart, I'm smart, let's do this together. I don't know, it's tiring. It's really tiring, that we spend a lot of our time dismantling systems of oppression, instead of doing the work of loving each other and holding each other up. And I know many good Christians and many good people of faith that we have different beliefs, and not everybody carries these beliefs as dogma, and I don't want to say that. But I do want to say that the stories that are lifted up by faith and by institutions make a difference, So the concept of original sin was first alluded to in the 2nd century by Irenaeus, a bishop of Lyon, in controversy with certain dualistic Gnostics. Other church fathers, such as Augustine, also developed the doctrine, seeing it as based in the teachings of Paul, the apostle. Augustine's formulation of original sin was popular among Protestant reformers such as Martin Luther and John Calvin, who equated original sin with strong sexual desire. But rather, but what's interesting is the Eastern Orthodox taught that no one was guilty for the original sin of Adam and Eve, and that instead this is why humanity had to die. That the reason why people are mortal is because of Eve's eating the apple. So, different take on it. Buddhism, there's no such thing as sin, as explained by Christianity. To the Buddhist, sin is simply defined as harmful action. We do something harmful, and it ultimately adds to our suffering. So disobedience qualifies as sin if it is harmful to someone or someone else. And in Judaism, there is no doctrine of original sin. And whether a person does wrong or not, it teaches that it is getting right with yourself and with others and with God that matters in Judaism. And same in Islam. There is no idea of original sin. It's that actually Muslims believe that Adam and Eve were forgiven by God, and it matters how you act in this moment. And so it's interesting to think about all these different paths and how they affect millions of people, and what a radical act it is to claim something different. And I think it's hard. Someone asked me, what it is like to, go from a childhood religion into something different, and I think there is sometimes a sense of loss. I used to sing songs to myself that I don't sing anymore. I would sing Amazing Grace, and I would talk to Jesus at night, and he would ask him to protect my stuffed animals. I would baptize all my stuffed animals because they must have been sinful. I don't know. But seriously, I would do this because I was worried about them. I wanted them to be in heaven with me. And it was all clouded by fear. And that's why I really am excited when I meet Christians and Jews and Muslims and those who practice their faith without that shadow of fear and sin, and you are not okay, And I think that's important. That's important. So religion is forever trying to explain human nature, making sense of the world. Why do bad things happen? Why do people make choices that they do? How do we deal with evil? What's going to save us? And in UU, we don't look for an external savior necessarily. We might think that, hey, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, the Buddha, Jesus had some really fantastic ideas. But ultimately, we are saved by our own character, by our own actions, and hopefully by each other, And I know in this community, we have different ideas about social justice, what should happen in our community. We have different ideas about how to solve problems. But ultimately, it's how we act together, how we treat one another, how we listen to one another. That matters. Unitarian minister Richard Gilbert said that theology is always particular, asserting assumptions about a specific worldview. And in UU, they don't rest in one specific event or person. UU is not committed to a saving event. So it's not like Jesus died on the cross, or in Judaism, they believe that a Messiah will come. And in UU, we have our own personal journey. And maybe you're a UU who's a Jewish and a Buddhist, or maybe you're an atheist. But ultimately, it's believing that fear can't win, letting love guide us. So I don't know about you, but I grew up in the South, and often the question was, what church do you go to, and are you saved? Are you saved? And as I got older, my responses got a little more sarcastic. I save at the bank, or which isn't the nicest necessarily, but it is important. Like, who is it that we belong to? And hopefully the answer is we belong to each other. We belong to a love that holds us and affirms who we are. What's really interesting is, we talked about early people who defied tradition in our congregations. We talk about Michael Servetus, who was a Unitarian and a Universalist, and he was deemed a heretic and was burned at the stake, actually, for his beliefs. But what I didn't know was that heretic, the etymology of that word means the ability to choose. What? Because I've had people call me a heretic and all sorts of names, unfortunately. And now I think it's I'd like to put it on my name tag. Ability to choose. I'm a heretic. And that's the core point of our congregations in Unitarian Universalism, is that ability to choose, to discern what is right for ourselves. And it's not, when I was in seminary, people would be like, oh, well, UUs can believe anything. And I guess on some level that's true, but we engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And where it's not true is that we have boundaries, right? If you come in here and start shouting epithets and say, oh, you're not okay, we don't like you, we're going to, ask you to leave because you're not being kind. And so there are boundaries, but it's that free and responsible search. We hold each other in community. Universalist beliefs began thousands of years ago and continued up into today. And it started with Origen in 300 CE. He said that a loving God would not condemn creation to hell. And Unitarians did not believe in a Trinity. They believed in the unity of God. And along the way, our beliefs expanded. We got pretty darn liberal. But we continue to think and discern and be on a search for truth and meaning. And so the discussions that we have in coffee hour, the voting that we do in this congregation, the ways that we show up in the community, it's a reflection, hopefully, of those early points of love, those early points that say, you were born right the first time. You have a mind, and you don't have to look for a knight to ride in and save you. You have that power. And let's do it together and make a difference. There's a famous story about a Universalist preacher called Hosea Ballou. He was a circuit rider that preached universal salvation. And so you can imagine he's riding through the hills, and he was riding beside a Baptist minister one time in New Hampshire. And apparently they were arguing as they traveled, and I can just imagine these two preachers, going beside each other and arguing back and forth. And at one point, the Baptist looked over at him and said, "Brother Ballou, if I were a Universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head and steal your horse and ride away, and I'd still go to heaven." Hosea Blue said, "If you were a universalist, the idea would never occur to you." which is so funny as that story is, I've heard this from Methodist and Baptist buddies back in seminary, is without the threat of hell, what is to keep a person in line? Do you need a stick? Do you need fear to hold you in line? And my first response is, do we have to have a cosmic lifeguard to save us? I don't think so. I think for me, my cosmic lifeguard is love. That is the ultimate connection and accountability. If we love one another, we're not going to call each other hateful names, at least not all the time. And when we do, hopefully we'll ask for forgiveness, and hopefully we'll come back again to the table and do better. Lynn Unger is a minister who I really admire, and she said this: "By what are you saved, and how? Saved like a bit of string tucked away in a drawer, saved like a child rushed from a burning building, already singed and coughing smoke? Or are you salvaged like a car part, the one good door when the rest is wrecked? Do you believe me when I say that you are neither salvaged nor saved, but anointed by gentle hands where you are most tender? Haven't you seen the way the snow curls like a fresh sheet, how it covers everything, makes everything beautiful without exception? This is salvation. It's beautiful, not a saving from, but a recognition of what is, a return to wholeness." So growing up in South Carolina, my best friend told me that I was going to hell because I was christened as an Episcopalian, and I wasn't dunked. I didn't do it the right way. And she called me to go forth and spread word on the campus. So we went to the local campus, and I handed out flyers about damnation and hell, and I just remember being so taken in. I was so afraid. I thought that everybody in my church was going to go to hell, and I was so afraid that if I didn't spread the word somehow and save everybody, that bad things would happen. And I just think about this 12-year-old impressionable Julie, sitting there on the corner like, have you heard? Have you heard the word? Have you heard? And I just think about who I am now, and I just want to go hug her and say, I heard, but you don't have to listen. and I think that's the thing, is that people will always have beliefs that maybe that they need. Sometimes people need a lot of structure in their lives, and that's beautiful, But when the structure harms other people, or it creates fear and harm, that's when our beliefs bump up against each other, right? Or it bumps up against our laws. Like this year, we've had people trying to ban books because of fear, right? Fear of LGBTQ people, fear of, I don't know, fear that somebody might read something. I'm not sure. So it's a choice. Do we question? Do we accept that we have the right to determine what is true? We at the very beginning of time, we were sitting around fires trying to figure it out. In 240 BCE, an ancient astronomer, Eratosthenes of Cyrene, used a camel, a stadium, and direct observation to reshape our planet from a flat disk to a round globe. He was the first geographer. And then Galileo was convicted of being what? A heretic. A heretic, right? Someone who thinks, someone who questions, for refusing the church's doctrine that the earth was the center of the universe. And in his search for truth, he repositioned the universe even after being told not to pursue that line of thinking. And think how that changed the world. If we thought that we were the center of the universe, how did that create our actions? Instead, we're this little dot in a big, wide mysterious universe. And also how we teach, do we have dominion over the earth, or do we caretake the earth, Do we go forth and multiply, or do we, what do we do? Matthew Fox was a Dominican priest for 34 years, and he was forced out of his order in 1991. He wrote a book that some of you might be familiar with called Original Blessing. And it proposes that not only do blessings permeate the story of Israel, it permeates creation from the beginning. And he's a Christian and says original blessing underlines all being, all creation, all time. And he quotes the Rabbi Herschel by saying, just to be is about blessing, just to live is holy. And so I invite you to think about this week, this summer, what does it mean to be a blessing? What does it mean to be born okay the first time? And all those stories in your head that tell you things that might not be true. Be a heretic. Be a heretic and maybe say, is that really true? Well, thank you for being with us today, and I hope that we can be better people together and do better as a society by bringing love to all. Amen. Then we're going to have Jessica Stadola come forward and extinguish the chalice.
All right, please join me in reading the words in your order of service. May our lives be reflections of the beauty, peace, and joy that is possible in the world. And may the love we find in this place sustain us as we go our separate ways.
Thank you, and it's a joy to extinguish our flame together. Thank you, Julie, for that sharing. I just am thinking so many thoughts I had in what you shared, and the word while kind of came to my mind. While we're living, while we're being together, while we're seeking, while we're learning, while we're believing or figuring out what the heck we believe, while we're deconstructing or reconstructing what we think, all of that is in process, and we're a blessing to ourselves and others the whole time. And so I look forward to this summer where we can be a blessing and practice being a blessing. So together, may our lives be reflections of the blessing that we are and the blessings that we can give and receive. Go in peace.